Do you want to make a positive change for your organisation? Do you feel that the world's a little bit chaotic and you want to take stock, plan, and make a bit more of a structured approach to how you take every day in your work or home life? Then we might have the answer for you on today's episode of the Inside the Orange podcast. Welcome back to another episode of the Inside the Orange podcast. And this time we are going to be breaking down the 6 segments, starting with organisation. And you'll be pleased to know this is not the only voice you're going to hear in today's episode. I've got a brand new co-host. But before we start today's episode, as ever, here's how you can get in touch with us and subscribe to never miss an episode of the podcast this season. At the Inside the Orange podcast, we're about creating positive change through organisation, reading, activity, nutrition, gratitude, and engagement. And you can follow us on YouTube, Instagram at Inside the Orange, on X at Orange Watts, and the Inside the Orange podcast on Facebook. We want you to reach out and help build the community. Cool. So I am not alone on this series. I thought what better way than to start having conversations rather than this just be me talking about what's going on. I spoke to a friend who's actually been a part of the podcast behind the scenes for quite a while. I used to work with him. We are very good friends. In fact, I call him my critical friend. He has been introduced in all of the trailer bits as Chris Outram, but we know him as Kip. He's going to be known as Kip for us. So Kip, welcome to the Inside the Orange podcast. And how are you feeling about me putting you on the spot now and putting you onto a camera straight away?
Oh, we'll see, won't we? We'll see how it goes. But yeah, I'm all right, mate. I'm all right. Glad to be a part of it.
Absolutely. And like I said, you have been a part of it. You've been someone who's listened from day one. You've kind of critiqued maybe some episodes where you thought, try, this way. And it's always been important.
Annoyed, whatever.
Constructive criticism is always helpful.
We'll go with that.
Absolutely. And I kind of wanted you involved in this season because when I kind of drafted up the idea of the organisation, reading, activity, nutrition, engagement, and gratitude, not necessarily in that order, I said to you almost straight away, we'd had a bit of a conversation on it, and I'd said to you, what do you think about this? And you were like, yeah, that's pretty good. I'd like to kind of put a few pences in that because there's some areas of that you're really keen and interested in, isn't there? So do you want to give people an idea what that kind of, where your area kind of comes into your, where you're most passionate about?
Definitely nutrition, activity. As you know, I quite like into me weight training and activity in that sense of things. Could do with improving my cardio, but yeah, definitely nutrition. Obviously, you know me as being quite organised for our time working together and how I am. So definitely those 3 are definitely big for me. Gratitude is something I'm working on. That's obviously something more sort of thing you take the lead on, but and engagement is your bag. But yeah, definitely for me, activity, nutrition, and what was the other one I said?
Activity, yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. That's fine. I've given you 6 to remember, so it is obviously sometimes it's quite challenging. Right. But, like I think was really important there. We're not experts in any sense, are we? We're just finding our journeys, and the idea of this year is to share ideas, journeys, and things, what's worked for people, and how people have made positive change, isn't it? That's the kind of focus on it. So we both come with some ideas and we both will take some parts of the lead, but I know you've got some real passions in there, and absolutely right. Anyone who's ever worked with Kip will know My organisation got better the minute I started working with this man because he is super organised to the point of when we've been prepping this meeting, I'm sure he's got far more notes than I've made. I'm back at a fag packet. It's very, very organised.
I've got me notebook right here next to me.
Very good. Awesome stuff. We said today, though, we're going to break it down for the first few episodes so we're not overloading people and just giving people 6 areas of it. We said today that we focus on organisation. So if I ask you then, why do you feel organisation? When we say that, we mean planning and structure. So why do you feel that's important for for people to kind of use in their life?
Like you say, structure. And planning, having a day planned, having anything you're doing, going into it planned rather than sort of ad hoc. It might be for everybody, but obviously that's something I find really, really helpful. I mean, you work with me, I have everything in a certain way. I just like to know what I'm doing, like to be planned. I just organise. Well, yeah, be organised just helps me get through stuff.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, as I said, you were a huge, huge influence to me. And I think my life got better when I worked to structure. And I think I've took that on with me for my career since then is actually you can never, and I think it's important people need to remember, you can't ever plan for every eventuality. There's not enough
Yeah, of
time in
course
the
not.
day. But with a planned approach, do you feel that if problems do arise, it's probably easy and you can get to the solution a bit, or you can at least find a bit of a path out of it if you've got a more structured approach than managing with chaos, I suppose.
Absolutely, yeah. It's preparation, isn't it? So it's
Hmm.
all about preparation and being prepared, and you can, yeah, just how, like I say, structure and planning, just being prepared for stuff. It's always a big help being prepared, isn't it? Rather than going
Hmm.
unprepared to anything. Same as you go for a job interview, you be prepared. Um, Probably not quite as organised in my life as I should be. My wife would tell me, but certainly with something that is a big help to me and something I'm very keen on is to be prepared and organised.
And I think that's well for all of us. I think if Zoe said to me, what you're doing organisation, I suppose there is aspects of it of actually we can get work well organised, but then it's important to kind of differentiate work from home. And as we said, we're
Absolutely,
not here to give everyone solution. It's not about a solution. We're keen to hear from people's ideas. Actually, people might have a much better home structure and organisation than their work structure. So maybe it's about sharing the ideas of what works well for you at work and what works well for you at home. And absolutely, I think it is a great idea. And again, I think, as I say, you have been such an influence on it. If we're going to talk obviously about reading and things, and a book we've kind of talked about with each other, and I've got a guest who's going to talk about this book as well. Is this Surrounded by Idiots book, which is based on insights. Now, people
yeah,
might need to know here that, and have probably already guessed, if they're into their insights, if they're into their human psychology, we could best describe you as a blue, which is all organization and structure, isn't it? You're a very solid
absolutely, yeah.
blue personality, aren't you, Kip?
Logic and fact. Yeah, that's what it's all about. Yeah, with me.
And absolutely. And again, that's that structured approach. And I think, as I say, it's not about here. We're not here to kind of say, try, this is the perfect way. It's try this, does this work? If it is, can you think of a time where you weren't as organized and do you feel at work, I mean, and do you feel that it has only impacted positively since you have got organizational work? Or have you always been someone that's wanted to go into work as a
Absolutely, no.
group?
I'm never organised all the time. Obviously, life has different plans for you, doesn't it? And sometimes you're running late for work, and you get in, and it's kind of sort of go with the flow kind of thing, which is. But yeah, it definitely impacts me when I'm not as organised as I should be. Like I say, I come in, I've got a certain way I do things. If that's knocked out of place, I do get a little bit lost. But yeah, it definitely makes a difference when I'm not as prepared or planned or got my structure in place. It does have an effect. Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely. And I think there's this amazing, I think it's on Instagram. I've seen the video of the sergeant major or someone he's given a speech in America. And it says about you want to get organized, the first thing you do is make your bed in the morning.
Absolutely, yeah.
What's your thoughts on that? Have you seen that video? Does that ring a bell to you, or is it something you've heard of?
I've heard the quote. Yeah,
Yeah.
about making your bed in the morning starts your good well for your day. But yeah, having a good morning structure, morning routine. the same as having a good evening routine as well. It's all about preparation and organising your day, and you just feel a little bit more. What's the word apart from organised?
Uh,
Yeah, a
yeah.
bit more chilled that you've got these things in place rather than just sort of being ad hoc, I suppose.
Very, yeah, you're right. It's that calmness, isn't it? I remember, as I say, I wore it as a badge of honor once. I went into a job interview, would you believe? And I said, "Do you know one of my skills is chaos management?" And I was so proud. And I thought, yeah, what a great thing. If there's a problem, Richard's going to be because he's
That
going to
sounds
fix
great. Chaos
it.
management. I like that.
It
Sounds
sounds
great.
great. However, if you think about it a different way, and it's good to be dependable in stuff that goes wrong, as I say, as much as you can plan as best as you can. The problem I had with it is if you start saying about chaos, that's the first word you're giving out to the universe is chaos. So
Yeah.
the first thing someone might see in you is chaos. How did you get into that chaos in the first place? So I
Yeah.
think I'm not saying it's not a bad thing to have to be able to be, in a crisis, someone that can be called on. But I don't, I think it's a much stronger badge to wear, the organized and the structure. And like you said, it gives a much calmer effect to you and probably what you put out to the rest of the world if you have that organized approach rather than here he comes again. Captain Chaos has walked in. Nothing's going to go right.
But
Do you
again,
think?
it's all about balance, isn't it? It's having a
Yeah.
balance of both. You don't be too structured where you can't do anything on spontaneously, but you don't be too spontaneous where you never prepared for anything or have that organisation in
Yeah.
place. It's finding that balance, isn't it?
Absolutely, and again, you're right. You want someone dependable in a crisis, but yeah, you'd almost want the chaos to be from a planned approach. If that, if that's
Planned chaos, absolutely.
yeah.
I'm all
What a
about that.
paradox!
Planned chaos,
What a paradox we've created. Planned,
organised chaos.
organized chaos. Absolutely. And I think for a long time that would be what I was probably described as, to be fair, in life. But
We've all been there, mate. We've all been there.
and then we need to look at it a different way. So we can then use, and again, we're not going to go fully into these in this episode, but we can use organization to help with reading, to help with activity, to help with nutrition. But those areas of nutrition, activity, do you feel that needs the organization as well? Do you think that's got to be planned?
That's the thing with these 6 segments, isn't it? We all kind of bleed into each other, and I think that's something that's a real good part of this. Is they all do have an effect on each other. Um, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm happy to give people a background. I think you know a little bit about it. That I came from a place 2018. I battled depression, and I actually believe the 6 segments are in place that have helped me over 6 years. I actually had a friend, another friend of mine, who said, "You've got everything kind of planned in life," but there was a time when I didn't. And this is kind of where I want that organization to start. We don't all come into this as we've got it sussed. We might look like we have them. Social media is an amazing thing to make people look a certain way and look the most planned in the world. But for me, it came from being rock bottom. It came from the fact that I couldn't plan my way out of a paper bag. Really, I couldn't plan to get to the end of the street. But it's about, as you say, using the segments together to try and build that, and using them together. I've actually feel much positive in life. As I say, I'm not saying anyone here is a finished product. Anyone here is got the answers for life. There's no such thing. But actually, we're real people. We have real problems, real issues, real things going on in our life. Just 6 ways that maybe we might be able to get that right. And that starts with organization, which ironically, and people that don't know, people haven't worked it out yet. I love an acronym. And obviously, organization, reading, activity, nutrition, gratitude, and engagement, they spell out the word orange if you first use the first letter, which was part of the plan. But I also said from the start, it's been staring me in the face. I've always had this name for the last 5 years of the podcast. I've always had these, but they're also the values I live by. How we haven't just created what letters can we use from orange to make a series? We haven't done
Yeah,
that. We
it's
actually
quite
worked.
personal to you, isn't it? So, which
Yeah,
is important. I think it's not you haven't just plucked it out of thin air. It's something that's important to yourself and to me. The 6 segments you've come up with, I think they're brilliant. And it all like they all tie into each other. And in terms of the anxiety and depression, getting each one of these right in turn helps with anxiety and depression and helps people start to lift yourself out of that kind of mindset.
Absolutely. And we've got some amazing people already signed up to have the conversation. We'll be bringing episodes from other people coming up. It's, and no subject is off limits because, as I say, if we can get it right, no matter what that is, we can help someone. And that has always been the bottom line with the Inside the Orange is about understanding the person with you. And as I said, organization, I think I'm really, really keen to get this going, keen to get it started. And I think it is something that, as I say, I'm so proud to have you on board. And again, we're kind of doing so much. Kip, you also do a lot of stuff in the background. Obviously, there's a lot of stuff on my social media that is actually originates from things you sound. You're a very good researcher for things coming out as well, and then you kind of give me. So we've
Is
almost
that
got
your way of saying I'm better off camera than on camera? I'd agree with, but yeah.
Can you see how much this guy puts words in my mouth without me saying it? but that's our partnership, and I think that's why we've had a good friendship over the years. Is we know each other's strengths and we know what to do, and then I completely ignore them and say, "Kip, you're coming on a camera. You coming on and put your camera on."
Absolutely, yeah.
So one of us listens. But if I was to say so, let's just before we kind of move on from today and organisation, if you could give someone one piece of advice to getting more organized, what's your kind of structure? Because I know you've trained people in the job you do. I know you've helped others and you've almost tried to set them up to succeed. And that starts with organization. So have you got any tips that someone could think of that maybe to start it would look like this or a good place to start?
Lists, you know me, lists, task trackers, lists, planning. Again, planning's all about planning. Having that mindset of going to work and have everything written out that I need to do. Tick it like a tick box as I go along. Lists. You know what I'm like with the lists. So yeah, definitely planning. Having a structure in place that you follow religiously. Obviously, there's stuff going to be thrown at you ad hoc, but as long as you get those basics, you've got your basics planned out and structured, then you can't really go wrong.
That's fantastic. Yeah, absolutely. And we want people to get in touch with the social media channels, with emailing us. We want people to tell us their ideas of how they get organized. And because again, we are students of life, aren't we? We want, if someone comes up with an idea which is what we're not thinking about, what a great way. So we want people to share with us what
It's
they've
also
got.
taking out those steps that usually stop you from doing something. It's something as simple as if you want to go for a run, get your kit out the night before, so it's all set out for you. You get up in the morning. It's just chopping down those barriers that usually stop you from doing stuff. So yeah, that's an example. Yeah,
Absolutely. And we'll be talking with you and everyone more about organisation as we continue. So it's been, as I say, good to introduce that first one today as organisation. So thanks for listening to today's episode about organisation. Again, if you want to get in touch, please reach out via email, using our social media through X, Facebook, Instagram, and get in touch. Give us your views. We'd really like to hear them. We will be back next Friday at 5, both me and Kip, as we break down the next segment. We're going to talk about reading and how this can help you make a positive change in your life. We look forward to seeing you then. At the Inside the Orange podcast, we're about creating positive change through organisation, reading, activity, nutrition, gratitude, and engagement. And you can follow us on YouTube, Instagram at Inside the Orange, on X at Orange Watts, and the Inside the Orange podcast on Facebook. We want you to reach out and help build the community.